Now, today we commemorate World Intellectual Property Day, and we want to continue that discussion as we have been talking about it for the entire week. And I would like to welcome back Ms. Akila Philip, entertainment attorney specializing in intellectual property law.
Hi.
How are you? How have you been?
I'm good. It's been a busy week, and thank you for having me back this morning.
Because on Monday we spoke with you and you told us about some of the initiatives that you had planned,
Yes,
visiting some
indeed.
schools and
Yes,
speaking with the
indeed.
children, getting them involved and teaching them and making them understand what intellectual property is all about. How did that go?
Oh, it was an exciting time. When I went to two schools this week, I went to St. George's College in Barataria and St. Joseph Convent, St. Joseph. When we started the presentation, indicating to the students, do you know what intellectual property is? And not much hands went up. You know, the term seems so like a large term to understand, but as we got into the presentation, explaining to them, do you use social media? What social media sites? Do you use something that was relatable to them? They were able to connect to the presentation, understand content that they share from photos, videos, music, etc. And they really connected with understanding how creativity matters and the value to innovators in this field.
And you went to two schools, St. George's College and St. Joseph Convent in St. Joseph.
Yes, yesterday I spoke at St. Joseph Convent, St. Joseph. And it's so interesting, and when you start giving this kind of information to children, you realize how many of them are starting their own projects. At one school, I met a student who he said that he's a young producer, and he uses a lot of his original work, and he would be putting it out there. One student I spoke to after, she said she's in the process of writing a script, and she wanted to know how she could go about protecting herself and getting into production afterwards. So our young people are really involved in creativity at a large scale.
And these workshops and you going to speak with them would, teach them what they need to know about the industry so that they can protect themselves.
Yes, and the discussion starts very early. We don't wait until they reach to university, but at this stage, when they are, within the realm of trying to decide, where should I go, what should I do, and they trying out all different areas, is where the conversation needs to start. And while they're creating, while they're making music, or they're drawing, or even writing plays, they need to know what happens along that journey, and if they decide to choose it as a career, where it could lead to.
And just for our viewers who aren't sure what intellectual property is, intellectual property refers to creations of the mind, such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce, and it is protected by law.
Yes, it is. It is protected by law. And while my presentation at the schools focused mainly on copyright, because that would have been more relatable to the children. It's such a wide field, from trademarks, patents, even neighboring rights, because we also sometimes focus only on the copyright, but the neighboring right is also a very important part, and it's connected to the copyright as well.
So you spoke with these children and you told them all of these things.
Yes, I did. I wish I had more time to spend with them, but I definitely touched their minds in terms of how inventors need to be paid, how they need to be respected, and how long copyright lasts in this particular case, because you were talking about photos, etc., and you just gave the definition. So I even related it to Bob Marley, because his work is still copyrighted, protected in Jamaica, and it lasts for your entire lifetime, and after that. So you could even pass it on to your children, your grandchildren. So it's something that, once you realize the kind of value that comes with it, it's something that you definitely don't take lightly.
And since we're focusing on women, this year, the female students, what were their thoughts when they understood, when they were told the theme for this year?
They were excited. The girls at St. Joseph Convent, St. Joseph, when I told them the theme, they definitely made a resounding applause, because they were excited about, realizing that this year, the World Intellectual Organization is really paying attention to the female inventors and the creators as well.
And that video clip that we showed with Mr. Gary, he did say that there are an increasing number of women who are registering their intellectual property, but there is still a gap.
Yeah, it's still a gap. I mean, sorry to, focus on it, but traditionally, it's men were the inventors, creators, and the shift is coming, And we need to encourage that approach to encouraging our young girls to really focus on getting into creativity, you know, getting into innovation and realizing that they would be respected as well.
And do you think what you are doing would take us in that
definitely.
direction?
I definitely think that this discussion is really happening now, and people are becoming aware, children are becoming aware, and they're feeling proud to know that what they're doing is just not a side hobby. And we need to get away from the fact that, you know, it's probably just something you do on the side. It's just a hobby. I'm just drawing, I'm just scribbling, but it's something that has longevity to it.
So what were some of the questions these students asked?
Well, they wanted to find out, well, since it was related to copyright in that sense, you know, who owns the photo, graduation may be coming up for some of them. And we had this discussion about even any events that you would go to, birthday parties, anniversary, and you hire somebody, a photographer, to come and take your photo for you, and you contract that person. Who owns the photo after the service is finished? And the majority of people think that the person who would have contracted the service is the one who's going to own the photo. But I said, no, actually, it's the photographer who's going to own the photo. Unless you make a contractual arrangement to pass the intellectual property rights to you, you only pay for a service. And that's not something a lot of people know, because it originates with the creator when you create any original piece of work.
And it goes with, when it comes to music, I know you spoke with them about copyright and the pictures, and you know, the photographer owns it. When it comes to music,
well, we did speak about that, and I related it to YouTube as well, you know, in terms of putting up content on YouTube, and even on any other social media platform. If they've ever had the experience of this video kind of be displayed, or you don't have the license for the content inside this video, is because that music that is accompanying whatever moving images, you need to get clearances from the contributors to be able to use that music online.
So they asked a lot of questions.
Oh yeah, they had, definitely.
So this is something that you think you'd continue to do?
I would definitely want to continue to do it, and you know, I would hope that the support comes from our corporate, you know, our corporate community as well as the ministry, to really educate and have that information out there for the children, because as I said, this is the stage where they are creating, their minds are young and eager, and they are putting together a lot of information.
You know, I was thinking that there are music and art classes and things in schools, so you know, parts of these things can be incorporated into what they teach.
It should definitely be incorporated, and that we can have a very strong creative industry, you know, on a wider scale, you know, on a you know, national scale, because if they understand at that stage where this will lead, it will really bolster our economy.
In the near future, what do you want to see happen for Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to intellectual property?
Oh boy, that is such a huge question. I would say a revolution of our creative industry, where the works of our inventors and creators are respected. People are able to get remuneration for their work. They are able to sustain themselves from their work, and we have a very strong export market where everybody, up and coming artists as well, even our painters, everybody is able to be rewarded for what they do.
And more people should get involved?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, the conversation just doesn't start with me. There are many other people out there having that conversation, and I want to see that, you know, we come together and we are able to have a united front and put the information out there.
Ms. Akilah Phillip, I would like to thank you for coming in and chatting with us about what you did with the children and your plans for ensuring that intellectual property is something that is taught to our young people and older people as well, so they would understand what is taking place. So again, thank you, Ms. Phillip, for joining us.
Thank you for having me again.
This is Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago. We take a break and come back with more.